Hello my friends, how are you getting on? Are you well? I'm Robbie, of course, from bestenglishfiction.com and of course englisharmy.com, which is my main blog, but currently, in this particular video, I'm going to address reading-related matters, and namely, my current book, Lies. And this is the third book in the Gone series. And you may want to check out this video, where I was talking about the whole series in general, And today I'm going to discuss one particular quote from the book, because you see, the matter of fact is that I'm not reading any kind of fiction, be it dystopian fiction, which is this particular book. Dystopian means happening in a distant future or near future. Time might be actually unknown, but normally it happens in a post-apocalyptic setting, where some global disaster has happened and the civilization as we know it has ended, and then it looks at certain events, and obviously there's main characters in the book, and all the related events, how they all play out in those settings, which are not true, but which are not so unrealistic, because it is actually feasible that it might happen at some stage. It's not like science fiction or fantasy, where some completely unrealistic events have been described, and some mythical creatures and things like that. Dystopian is actually possible. Currently, what's happening in the world, in the international arena? Definitely, you must have heard about the Northern Korean dictator threatening the entire world, basically, with his nuclear power. His direct threats are obviously directed towards the South Korea, but the entire world would definitely plunge into a disaster if a nuclear war would begin in the Korean Peninsula. I would definitely say that our lives, wherever we are on the planet, would cease to operate the way we understand it, the way we've been living for decades, ever since World War II, So dystopian fiction is probably actually useful in that sense. You read these books and you kind of get into the mindset, you start depicting those scenarios, and if such a disaster were to strike in real life, it wouldn't be so unexpected, but that's actually not what this video is about. I was going to look at the particular quotes. Yes, I was saying that I'm not reading this fiction, or any type of fiction for that matter, just for entertainment purposes alone. You see, I'm seeing through the action, I'm seeing through that dimension, which is quite superficial, and some people, I would say that there are people, probably most of readers, who read this fiction just because it's easy to read, easy to perceive, just to kill one's time, But I read this fiction because it makes me think about things that are going on in my own life, Some books actually have helped me to reevaluate my own values, I have actually changed as a person, thanks to the influence of particular books, and they're up there on the bookshelf, and most likely I'll get to talk to you about those books in one of the videos to come onto this blog, But currently, I keep straying off subject, my dear friends. I'm very bad in that sense. So page 227. Basically, the character's name is Quinn. Quinn isn't really a very tough guy, He's quite useful in this particular book, because the society, obviously, as I said, has ceased to exist the normal way, and this particular book looks at a scenario where all the adults have gone. They're actually disappeared, and kids have to fend for themselves. And Quinn, actually, he's a boy who figured out how to catch fish in the sea to feed the rest of the kids, because they were all starving. The second book in the series is called Hunger, and that's when the children have started really suffering for real, because after a few weeks into the new world where all the adults are gone and they're sealed with dome, with a kind of a translucent dome, which spans for miles upon miles, about 20 miles in radius, that'd be about 400 square miles or so. So basically the whole city has been sealed off, from the outer world, and they don't know what's going on. They don't know where all the adults are, but as it turns out, I'm not actually going to reveal it to you, because it's one of those revelations that is communicated to you as a reader through this book, and I was actually stunned when I figured it out, when I found it out, what's happened for real. So I'm not going to say to you, but basically those kids have to figure out how to operate in the new society, how to fend for themselves. And Quinn is a guy who has become actually a fisherman, and now he's head of his own small fleet. He's directing other guys. They have a number of boats, so basically their daily routine begins early in the morning, and they have to row out into the open sea. Basically, well, the sea is not open anymore because the dome envelops the entire city and part of the sea, so there's no real sea activity. There's no waves or anything, but sea creatures still dwell in the water, and fish help those children to survive, Basically, well, they wouldn't be really feasting every day, but they would be merely maintaining their minimum nutritional requirements, And Quinn is the guy who figured out how to catch fish, and he finds himself in a situation where he's quite respected in the society, But previously, in the previous book, there was a moment when he had to act. There was a battle, because some other kids, some other mutants, there's normal kids and mutants, because when the whole thing happened, when the adults poofed, there's a specific word for it, poofed, which means they just disappeared, just vanished into thin air. Following that, there was a battle between mutants and normal kids, and Quinn, turns out, he wasn't as brave as other kids, and as probably he himself expected, Basically, he realized that he was a coward, Let's call spade a spade. He was a coward, and he was really ashamed of it, and he was actually forced into siding with the enemy mutants, against his own will, but he was too weak to refuse that, because had he refused, he would have been probably killed, and he was scared into that situation where he had to speak against his best friend, who was the leader of the good mutants. It's quite complicated, but not really. If you start reading these books, you'll get into it quite quickly, and it's actually very interesting. But as I said, it's not just about the superficial layer of what's happening in the book. It's not about just the events. It's about the deeper meaning, It's about the philosophical aspect of the book, which makes you think, how would you have acted in similar scenarios? Or if that were to happen for real, would it bring about the best in you as a person or the worst? It makes you think a lot about yourself as a person, And the quote, finally, I've come to the stage where I'm actually talking about the quote. So many vivid, indelible memories. Indelible. I'm not really sure what that word means, but that doesn't prevent me from enjoying English fiction. There are a few words I come across and I'm not really sure what they mean, but I just understand their meaning from context alone. So many vivid, indelible memories. It might be similar synonym to the word vivid. Vivid means very bright, as if it happened yesterday. Very vivid memories. And indelible memories, come on, it's not that important that it would prevent me from perceiving the actual content of the book. I just skip such words, and if that word were to appear again and again, then I might start wondering what it actually means, and then I would go online, look it up, but I would never look it up, the translation into my native language, because I'm all against translation. You have to embrace the concept of contextual learning, that's the real thing. pull out from context, and then just over time, I might not even look it up online. Over time, if I see that word for like 20 times, I would actually know what it means just from the context alone, you know. All those associations would paint a pretty clear picture of what that word means, you know. But as you can see, I'm terrible. I'm very bad at constantly straying off the subject. So here's so many vivid, indelible memories. He wished him being Queen, right? He wished he could cut them out of his brain, basically. He wished he could forget the fact that he was a coward, that he didn't really stood up for he didn't stand up. You see, I made a typical mistake. He didn't stood up, you know. He didn't stand up. I'm embracing these mistakes. That's fine. I will probably keep making them till the moment I die, you know. But it's just part of being a foreigner. You speak fluently, and the odd mistake you might make here and there doesn't really matter, you know. And basically he wished he could cut out those bad memories of his brain, you know. The memories of him being a coward, not helping others, you know, not being there for his friends. But other times he realized, no, that was foolish. It was all those things that had made him this new person. And that was the Queen. And it's a very powerful quote, my friends. What it actually tells is you've done bad things in your life, you know. You have, I have, everybody has. We're no saints, you know. Nobody is saint. We have all done things we're not proud of. We'd rather not have done, you know. But it's all those things, all those memories that helps you develop into a better person. Basically what it means is, if not for those bad experiences, you wouldn't have the motivation, the driving force within you to constantly better yourself, you know. And you know what they say? They say that a true hero is only a coward by definition. A hero is a person who overcomes his weaknesses, who has the inner conflict, you know, the inner clash between his selfish interests and the need to do something for the greater good, you know, to go beyond himself, you know, his own needs, to do something for others, you know, to help others, risking your own life even, you know. And by definition, only a coward is capable of a truly heroic act, because somebody who is almost fearless, you know, for him the heroic act would be no big deal. He would do it just because that's his nature, you know. And even though others would perceive that act as being truly heroic, you know, everyone would cheer that guy who saved a drowning person or ran into a house ablaze and brought out a suffocating person who had passed out in the smoke, you know. Everyone would cheer that guy and tell him, yes, that's a truly heroic deed. And it would be, you know, by all standards and measures. But if that guy was totally fearless, you know, some tough firefighter who's been doing that for his whole life and actually could have developed some sort of a immunity towards the related fear, you know, for him that would be just fulfilling his duty. That wouldn't be a truly heroic act, you know. But for Queen, for the person that he is deep down in his heart, he's a coward and he understands that. But he wants to overcome that. He doesn't want to be a coward anymore, you know. So I would say that the person like Queen is capable by definition of a truly heroic act. And he has bettered himself, he's serving the community. But it turns out that in the next couple of pages, in those events to come, he actually isn't that tough guy, even though he wasn't actually acting cowardly, but he didn't meet his own expectations in terms of how he should have acted ideally, you know. But then again, which one of us is ideal, you know, when we have to face some some very tense situation which would probably result in harm being done to us, you know, if we would face that in real life. Who's to say how we would act if we are scared to the depths of our heart, you know, when the adrenaline is pumping? Half of people actually just lose it, just freeze, you know, we just don't know how to act, how to react, what to do, you know. So basically, what Queen says, well, it wasn't actually quote from Queen's speech, it's what the author says, you know. Who's the author? Michael Grant. Actually, all those things that you have done in your life, that's what makes you into a person you are currently. And you don't have to wish to forget those things. Remember them and use it as a driving force behind your constant development as a person. Basically, personal development is driven by your desire to prove to yourself that you can do better. You can do better than you did before. Basically, that's the message today. And if you want to be privy to all those events that are going on in this book and all the previous books and the next 2 books in the series gone, please go ahead and buy this book. I really, really suggest you to get it and start reading it because it's a very, very interesting book. Probably it's not one of the best ones, you know. Maze Runner series is one notch above, but still this is a great material for your brain as a foreign English speaker, so that you can just surround yourself with English as much as possible. And yeah, basically that's about it, my friends. Thanks for watching and see you soon again. Bye bye.